Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Forecast. In today's video I will be discussing the England squad for the upcoming World Cup. I'm going to go through and who should be in the squad and who should be left out. And this will be discussed in most likely Tuchel's 4-back formation. I've previously done a video where I've actually said I think their best chances of winning is playing this system. And I'm just going to quickly discuss why. So in goal I would obviously have Jordan Pickford. I think that's easy. Then I'd go Reece James at right back. I just think you need a more solid right back. But in a back five, I think against some of the worst teams you can afford to play Trent. And this role was going to very much be about getting up and down. Not as high though as the other fullback, which is Bukayo Saka. And this looks weird having Saka as a left wing back, but he's done this role well for I think Arsenal when he was coming through. I think Saka's good enough defensively to play this role in some ways. He did it for England last Euros, and I thought he was very good on the right hand side, but I think he could be even better on the left hand side. At Arsenal, he's asked to track back a lot either way, so I feel like Saka could definitely do this role, and Saka is going to have the freedom to go as high as he wants whenever he wants, and it's going to be important he gets back, but it's not going to be as important. I'm going to talk about that more later. Then the back three, Konsa, Gahey and Colwill. I wouldn't mind if John Stones comes in here as the right centre half, but I have gone with Isre Konsa. I think that Konsa has been performing better at Villa. I think Stones at some ways was at fault for the World Cup, for the Euros final, as well as Kyle Walker, who will be nowhere near either squads. Then I've got Gahey and Colwill as my central centre half and left centre half. Then Wharton and Rice. I think this is a very good midfield pivot, especially in this formation. And then Jude Bellingham, left 10, right 10, Cole Palmer, and striker Kane. You could go Foden as the right 10, but I think Palmer is the better option, and this is how it will actually work. So when England is sort of on the attack, Saka can go forwards. Colwill then moves a bit, shifts more into in the left back position. Then Mark Gahey sort of shifts across, and so does Isre Konsa. Reece James has got the freedom to go up, but not as high, and that's because Palmer's going to end up sort of drifting more on the right. He's going to be able to operate in this space, and this will actually allow Declan Rice to get further forward, almost playing this way he plays at Arsenal. Then Wharton can sort of cover them, and that sort of leaves you with sort of Wharton covering Rice, who can box crash into this sort of area of the pitch. And then you've also got Jude Bellingham, who I thought he played his best football with Real Madrid in this sort of area of the pitch. And then Harry Kane up front. Now, there is an argument you play someone like Watkins up front, there's a bit more pace, but for considering how good Harry Kane is a footballer, I think you're going to go with Harry Kane. The system could suit a striker with a bit more pace, so I don't think there's any doubt about that. What I'm trying to do with this system, though, is get the best out of every player. Obviously, Saka's going to play a slightly different role, which could cause him a bit of problems, but I think this gets the best out of Bellingham, Rice, Adam Wharton, who can just control the midfield, Reece James, Cole Palmer, who loves this sort of area of the pitch, and I think in some ways it gets the best out of Harry Kane, in some ways it probably doesn't, but I think it gets the best out of 6 or 7 of the attack of the players that you want going forward, and that's what I'm sort of looking to do. I don't want to just squeeze everyone in. I don't want to squeeze Foden in somewhere, because I don't think it works playing Foden on the left. I think this is the best chance that England have at winning a World Cup. Realistically, though, this is not what Thomas Tuchel is going to do with his England squad. It's going to look different. It's going to be a 4 at the back. So now let's go through, decide who should be in the squad and who shouldn't. And before we get into the players, shout out to James Alcott. I am using his tactics board, which you saw earlier, as well as his tier list. He's one of the leading content creators in YouTube right now. If you haven't seen him before, definitely check him out. He's worth a watch, especially if you sort of like the tactics stuff behind football. He's excellent at it. So starting off with the England keepers, and you've got Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson, James Trafford, and Aaron Ramsdale. Straight away, Pickford starting 11. Won't hear anything else. Some people will say people like Dean Henderson should start. Jordan Pickford has proven time and time again he's an excellent keeper for England, and he's incredibly underrated, I think, Jordan Pickford, because people are always critical about how he is at Everton. I think he's also excellent at Everton. This is just sort of a myth that he's only good for England. Dean Henderson, I'm going to go on the plane. I think Henderson should be the backup keeper. I think there's maybe an argument for someone like Aaron Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale may be starting at Newcastle come the end of the season, and I think he's good with his feet. He's a decent keeper, and Tuchel could use someone like that potentially. But I think for now, Henderson's done so well at Palace, you've got to reward that, and he should definitely be the backup keeper. James Trafford, I think, is unlikely right now, especially if you consider the fact that Donnarumma is the starter at Manchester City. You could argue Ramsdale's got a similar situation, but I think he'll start over Pope by the end of the season. That's my gut feeling. And why is Nick Pope not involved? I don't think Nick Pope's good enough for England. That's my opinion. I think Pope's an excellent keeper in terms of shot stopping, I worry about him in those moments and sort of maybe where he's going to sort of pass and I think he's error prone, and I don't think that's what you want at an international tournament. For me, that's a mistake waiting to happen. I'd rather either pick Ramsdale or Trafford. If Trafford ends up playing more minutes for City, I would definitely consider though James Trafford as the England keeper, third choice England keeper instead of Aaron Ramsdale. So on to the right back position, and what I want from the right back position is I want two out and out right backs and then a right back and a left back cover in case a full back goes down. And that is because my starting right back is Reece James, who's very injury prone, and I do worry about him in terms of getting injured at a World Cup. And the reason why I want additional right back cover is because I'm picking Trent Alexander-Arnold as my backup right back. I think there's very much an argument for someone else, but I really like Trent in terms of a player that can change the game for England. England need these sort of players, especially when you're trying to break down a low block, maybe against those lower level teams. When you're 1-0 down, bring on a player like Trent. He can create chances. I guarantee you he'll create chances. He could be responsible for errors, but he creates chances, and he also gets teams out of trouble. If you need an out ball, go to someone like Trent. Maybe you're actually in front, or maybe you're drawing, but you want someone who can get you sort of out of tight positions because you're sort of getting dominated a bit. Then you bring on someone like Trent, I think. Trent's very good with his passing game, and he can have that moment of magic, and I think that's really important to have. Now, that does mean that I actually still want a right back who I think can cover for him, because both of these two right backs are injury prone, and I don't know if I'd fully trust Trent to start. So then we've got Ben White and Kyle Walker. For me, White's probably unlikely. I like Ben White as a fullback, but he's very injury prone, and I think there's other options now over him. Then Kyle Walker, for me, this is no chance. I don't even want to discuss this, actually. I'm sorry, Walker, you've been a good servant for England, but you're just not good enough for this level anymore. I've been one of the people that's been going on for this for a long time, actually, that Kyle Walker shouldn't be anywhere near the England squad. I didn't want him even starting really at the Euros. I thought he was at fault for a lot of England's mistake, especially at that final, and I definitely wouldn't go anywhere near Walker again, and we saw this last season with his form at Manchester City. Then Jed Spence, Nico O'Reilly, and we have got Rico Lewis, as well as Tino Livramento, and this is players that can play right back and left back. So Jed Spence, I didn't think I'd be talking about this guy, but Spence has been really impressive the last 4 or 5 months. I'm going to put him in unlikely. I think he's just outside of it. I think there's still a better option. Rico Lewis and Nico O'Reilly, I like them. I think they're looking like decent players. Nico O'Reilly, I think, in some ways got a better chance, but I think they're both in no chance for now. I don't think either of these players are ready to start or ready to be in an England squad. Then Tino Livramento, and he's the one for me that's just in. For me, he's probably the best right back and left back cover that we've got. As long as he's fits for the World Cup, I'll be picking Tino Livramento as that sort of third choice player that can cover both sides. So on to the left back position, and if you watched England at the last Euros, you'll know how frustrating Trippier was at left back, because all he would do is he would just receive the ball and then pass back to the right hand side because he wasn't comfortable off his left foot, and that's really important in a left back in my opinion. Now I understand people's argument here of it will be better with not having Foden on the left, and that is something I definitely want to avoid in the future. But I still also think that not having that left footed left back made us so one-dimensional. Everything was in the middle of the park, because you still have a winger that's always going to cut in on his right foot, look to head central. So what I'm looking from this left back is someone that can provide this width. So who have I got? I've got Tyreek Mitchell, Lewis Hall, and Lewis Scully. Tyreek Mitchell is a completely underrated fullback, one of the best I think really around, especially as an old traditional fullback, a bit more defensive minded, but he's also become a bit more attacking recently because he's had to play as a wing back, and he's still managed to stay in that squad, even though I really thought they were going to upgrade in a position like that because it didn't really suit him. But unfortunately, I just think he's unlikely right now, Tyreek Mitchell. I would be very tempted to pick a player like this soon. I think if you're coming up against one of the best wingers in the world, then turn to someone like Tyreek Mitchell, a Lamine Yamal, maybe Rafinha. Someone like that, a Salah. Then you could play someone like Mitchell who can just lock him down, and that would be something I think they could consider. And Ousmane Dembele. Then you got Lewis Hall and Lewis Scully. For me, these two are both on the plane. I would start Lewis Scully right now. I think Lewis Scully, I'm hoping he'll play more for Arsenal come the end of the season. I think he's good enough to start for England, Lewis Scully, and he is probably more of that defensive mould, I would say. I'd say he's a very good defender, not at the level of Mitchell, but I think he's slightly better going forward. He's a bit more raw, but I really like what I've seen from from Scully. I think he'd definitely start for England, and I think he's definitely of this level. He's got great passing, and I think he'll really help going forward, and that is important. Lewis Hall, I'll go on the plane. I don't think he quite makes the starting 11, but yeah, I can definitely hear people out there just saying Mitchell should be in the squad, but I do want to avoid having a second choice right back being right-footed, because second choice left back being right-footed, because I think that was a real problem for England at the last Euros. So then on to the centre-halves, and I just can't understand why Colwill just never seems to be in anybody's England squad. I actually think I would start him as the left centre-half. I think Colwill's brilliant. I think he's been really good at Chelsea. He's gone completely under the radar, and people are forgetting about this guy. I get he's got an ACL injury, but I just can't understand why he's not being sort of more spoken about as a potential starter for England. And a lot of people talking about Israel Konsa and John Stones, but I personally would start Colwill. That is my opinion. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. And next to him, I would start Mark Gahey. That would be my England centre-halves. Israel Konsa, a lot of people would start Israel Konsa. I would definitely have Israel Konsa on the plane. I think he's a very good option for England, and I think he should very much be in contention to start, but I would still slightly favour Colwill. Then we've got Harry Maguire. For me, Harry Maguire shouldn't be in the squad. I think we've moved on from him now. And the reason why Maguire doesn't get in it is because I'd actually go with another big centre-half, and that is Dan Burn. I think he just goes in just in. And look, I think this is a really good option for England if you're sort of ahead in the last sort of 20 minutes and you just need to close down a game. We've then got our final three centre-halves, Jarrad Braithwaite, Jarell Quansah and John Stones. And look, I think Braithwaite's unlucky to not sort of be in contention, I don't think. I think he's probably in unlikely right now. I still think he's got a chance, but his injuries come at the wrong time. Dan Burn's playing especially well, and he's the one you'd have to take out. Very sort of similar sort of build, and I think he'd fill a similar role sort of last 10 minutes, but I think Dan Burn's sort of experience gets him through over Jarrad Braithwaite. Jarell Quansah, no chance for me. Look, he may have a great season at Leverkusen, but I don't think he's quite ready for England, and I think there's better options. John Stones, I'm going to put on the plane. Stones would go into that squad as the fourth choice centre-half behind Israel Konsa right now. If Stones has a great season, which is definitely possible, he could move himself even into that starting 11 though. Let's move on to the midfielders, and let's start with Loftus-Cheek. Shouldn't be anywhere in the squad. He's not even starting for AC Milan, and he's nowhere near good enough for England. No chance. I'm putting it that straight up. There's absolutely no way this man should be in the England squad. Mason Mount, no chance as well. He shouldn't be near this England squad. I just think this is a waste of time discussing either of these players. Look, Mount could have a great year. Maybe Mount's, there's a chance he gets him, but it's so unlikely, and I think it's just better to put him in no chance. For me, Jordan Henderson should have no chance again in the squad. Tuchel may well pick him. I wouldn't pick him. I think there's way better midfielders here, and I wouldn't go anywhere near a player like Jordan Henderson. Then we've got Conor Gallagher. For me, Gallagher is probably unlikely. I think there's a chance that Gallagher could be useful, but that would require quite a bit to happen. I think you'd need midfield injuries, but there are some injury-prone players in this midfield, like Adam Wharton. But I just think no need for a player like Gallagher. And saying this, I am going to put Wharton in the starting 11. For me, Wharton starts in this England side. I think that midfield of Wharton and Declan Rice is absolutely vital to everything England do. And people may play Bellingham as like this deeper pivot midfield, sort of in the 6/8. Not for me. I think Wharton and Bellingham's perfect. Wharton and Rice, is perfect. Wharton, for me, can just control the game. And this allows Rice to actually have a bit more freedom. I think play where he's doing so well for Arsenal right now. Be that box-crashing midfielder. And for me, Wharton has to be starting in this England squad. Then we've got Kobbie Mainoo, Elliot Anderson, and Curtis Jones. For me, Kobbie Mainoo goes in the squad on the plane. A lot of people probably wouldn't pick Kobbie Mainoo. For me, Kobbie Mainoo deserves to be in the squad. That is my opinion. I know he's not playing for Manchester United currently, but surely at some point Mainoo does start the season and plays well. If Mainoo doesn't start the season, it doesn't start enough games, then that gives other opportunities to other players, like a Curtis Jones, who I'm putting in unlikely right now. Curtis Curtis Jones to me is a very good midfielder, and what he provides is something different. He provides high pressing, high energy, and what I love about Liverpool when we use Curtis Jones is that we use Curtis Jones as a player to change the game. And what will happen is as soon as you see that Curtis Jones sub comes on, you know we're going to press high, we're going to cause problems, and that's the next tactic that slot shifting to. That's how he uses Curtis Jones, and I do think England could use a player like that, and I think he's better at it than Gallagher, and I think he's better quality than Gallagher, but I just think he's still unlikely unless Kobe Mainoo basically gets no games. Kobe Mainoo gets no games, and Curtis Jones probably ends up in the squad. And then finally, Elliot Anderson. For me, Elliot Anderson is on the plane, and he's the backup to Adam Wharton. If Wharton goes down injured, then you turn to a player like Elliot Anderson, and that would be your midfield of Anderson and Rice. I think Rice is very rarely injured, and I think a midfield of Rice and Wharton would be so good for England. And then you've also got Anderson as the backup for either one of them, and I've been so impressed with Elliot Anderson. I think he deserves to be part of this England side. Onto the attacking midfield, and I'd argue this is the position that England have the most quality in. I'm going to discuss for now just players that play in the central of the park, the more attacking-minded ones, and then after that I'm going to move on to the attacking midfielders who can also play on the wing. Starting off with Angel Gomez, I'm going to put him in no chance. I just don't think he's quite good enough to get this England squad, especially in this position. Same with Joe Bellingham. I like Joe Bellingham. He looks like a decent talent. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as his brother. I don't know if he is going to be as good as his brother, but I think considering him for England is absolutely stupid right now. Then Morgan Gibbs-White, for me right now, I'd probably go unlikely. He's borderline no chance, but I think the manager will change, and Gibbs-White will look a whole lot better under a different manager. James Maddison, I'm going to put Maddison in unlikely because Maddison can have spells of form, and maybe Maddison finishes the season off really well and he gets into the squad, but I think that's unlikely. Then Jude Bellingham, Jude Bellingham for me is on the plane. He's not quite in the starting 11, and that is because I'm going to talk about someone later who I would actually play in the 10 over Bellingham, and that is because I think he's a big game player and he will perform well. Look, Bellingham's a big game player, but I think this player is even better. Then on to Morgan Rogers, and I love Morgan Rogers' ability to carry the football, and I definitely think he's on the plane. He may not really get too many minutes, but look, if Bellingham goes down, I think he's almost an identical replacement for someone like Jude Bellingham, so he very much can fulfill that role that Bellingham's going to have to do off the bench in this system. But yes, I do think Rogers needs to be on the side. He could also drift out, play on the left if needed, and I really do love Morgan Rogers. His ability to carry the football is one of the best in this England team, and that's sort of what I'm looking for. There's little unique things with these sort of players because there's such a big squad. There's no point selecting 3 or 4 players that are very similar, which actually brings me on to these left wingers, and you've got Marcus Rashford and Anthony Gordon. For me, you can only take one of these because they offer the same sort of thing, pace in behind. And look, Gordon's a bit of a better hard worker, but I think Rashford's going to have a really good season at Barca, and for me, he starts on the left-hand side for England at this World Cup. I would go with Rashford. I think he can stretch the opponent, and he will be a top player for England. And then I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to put in Gordon in unlikely. Gordon hasn't been in his best of form, and I also just can't quite see him getting in the squad, and that's because of the quality of Eze, your Rodgers, and your Jack Grealish. For me, Grealish needs to be in the squad. I'm really enjoying watching Jack Grealish right now, and I 100% would put him on the plane, and I think he's good enough to get in this England side as it stands. Just realised that my England squad's going to be too big, so unfortunately I'm going to have to take out Dan Burn. So we won't have the 5th centre half if Stones and Cole will go down, but let's just hope they both don't go down. I do think England could have used this player, but I just don't think I can make it work with the squad, and that was the easiest solution, was to take Dan Burn out. But yeah, it's unfortunate to leave him out, but I just couldn't take out Levi Colwill or take out Concert or take out Stones because I think they're all better than him, really. And Burn was only going to be there for the last 10 or 15 minutes. So I need 4 players out of the remaining 8, and I need 2 right wingers and 2 strikers. So Saka immediately starting 11 in, and so is Harry Kane. But now it gets interesting, because if you want an out-and-out replacement for Saka if he got injured, then you're actually picking Madueke or Bowen, and I actually think that's what England could require more. There's an argument for it, because then if Saka gets injured, then what do? You probably go Palmer off the right, Bellingham in the 10 over Foden off the right, or Foden in the 10 over Bellingham or Palmer. So then he's not even getting into the squad, even if your right winger goes down injured. He's just another one of those 10/wingers. So that's why I'm putting Foden in unlikely for now. If Foden has an amazing year, I think you can justify him off the right-hand side as the backup, or he could even start. But for now, Foden's not in my England squad because I don't want him anywhere near that left winger. And I don't think he's good enough to play on the right in this system. It's never worked playing Foden as a touchline winger. It's never ever worked, and I don't think it's going to work under Thomas Tuchel. But this comes back to what I was saying earlier about that 5 at the back system. This would allow Foden, if Palmer was to get injured, to play as the right team, which is absolutely perfect. That's exactly where Phil Foden should be playing for England, and he's unable to get, I think, a right position because of the quality in around him, and he's just not better than Palmer right now or Bellingham, and that's the problem he's having. So who do I pick out of Madueke and Bowen? I'm going Bowen. Some people would go Madueke, and I would say fair enough, that's your opinion, Noddy Madueke, but for me, Noddy Madueke isn't quite at the level yet for Arsenal. I know he's playing well, but I don't know if he's going to keep this up, and I would go Madueke and unlikely to get in right now. But if he plays well, then I would definitely consider him over Jarrod Bowen. So then strikers. Who's the backup striker for Kane? Solanke, Watkins, and Delap are the 3 options. For me, it's quite obvious. I'm going Ollie Watkins. He's a different option to Harry Kane. I think you could also go Rashford up front if you really needed to. You could even try Bellingham up front. I think that's an option as well. But I think you need another option other than Kane. You need someone that can stretch the sides going to the last 20, 30 minutes. And that is what Watkins provides you. Solanke, I'm going no chance. And so with Delap. I wouldn't even consider them. He's not in this tier list, but I would actually even consider Ivan Toney more of a shot in this England squad than a Delap or a Solanke. Let me know your England squad for the upcoming World Cup, but this isn't the end of the video. Now I'm going to show you how this would look like on paper. So here is my England 11. In goal, Jordan Pickford. Right back, Reece James. Trent maybe in those games against some of the weaker opposition. Then Mark Gahey and Colwell. But if Gahey was to play off the left and you were to pick Conser or Stones, I wouldn't be too worried. Lewis Scully at left back. Once again, if you were to pick like Lewis Hall there, I'm not too worried. Wharton and Rice. Rice is going to have a bit more freedom, can get up and down a bit. Then Cole Palmer in the 10 over Bellingham. But once again, if Bellingham was to start, no problem with that. Saka, Rashford, and Harry Kane up front, with Watkins coming on for the last 15 or 20 to stretch the opposition if necessary. Let me know your thoughts on the squad. Let me know your thoughts on this team, and the squad will now be shown. So here is the final England squad. I've just removed my face cam. Pause the video if you want to look at it for longer. But that is the end of this video. Please let me know your thoughts on this video. What would have you changed? And what are your thoughts on the actual squad? Who would have you left out? Who would have you put in? And if you enjoy this video, it'd be great if you could head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, as well as liking the video.